Hi. Okay, so today we're going to talk about goal setting and how to use the goal setting worksheet. So this is what I have found, that we sometimes create these goals that, we get excited about, but then we look at the number, or we look at the dollar amount, or we look at the number of faces and we think, oh my gosh, that's so much, I can't even imagine doing that. Well, what I have found is that if you don't believe that it's possible, then you won't even start. The most simplest thing, you'll start to sabotage yourself and you'll just give up before you've even started. And so this goal planning worksheet will allow you to say, okay, what is my big picture goal this month or in the next couple months, and break it down to the most common denominator of the daily activity. And I think you'll find once you figure out what do I have to do every single day in order to reach my big goal, you're going to find it's not as big as you might think. And I'm going to give you just one quick analogy. My niece, Jordan, is a runner, and at the beginning of this running season, she told me that her goal was to run the 800 meter in 2:12 and 2 minutes and 12 seconds. And the reason is that's the time that she needs to have in order for colleges to start to look at her for scholarships. And at the beginning of the season, her time was 2:20. Well, if you're to tell someone that they're going to shave off 8 seconds, and I'm not a runner, so I don't know exactly how hard that is, but it sounds like a lot to me even though I'm not a runner. So if she were just to say, my goal is to go from 2:20 to 2:12 and just start running with no plan in place, then at some point she's going to find that she's going to get frustrated because she's not going from 2:20 to 2:12 in a heartbeat. And that is sometimes what happens to us. We figure out, okay, well, I'm just going to start holding skincare classes. I'm just going to start booking appointments. And then when something reschedules, or we have a class that we don't sell anything, or we hold appointments with marketing plans and we don't add new team members, then we just give up. Well, if you just know that what your big picture goal is and exactly how many it's going to take in order for you to get there, you're less likely to give up. So long story short with my niece is that she went from 2:12 this season, or sorry, from 2:20, and just now, a couple weeks ago, she ran in states, and she got sixth place for the 800 meter. She went from 2:12 at the beginning of the season to now she's at 2:16. So she shaved off half of what she needs to shave off in this season, but now she knows what she needs to work on. She knows exactly where she went wrong, or not wrong, but what else she needs to do to get to the next level. And so I'm going to hit stop, and we are going to walk through this goal setting worksheet so you know exactly what to do. Okay, so this is the goal setting worksheet, and you can click on the link and print out a copy for yourself. It does not have to be in color, but how this works is that you put the month at the top of the page, and if you are still breaking down how many months, if you want it to be like a 3-month goal, you can do that as well and just divide it by 3 months when you're done. But if you have an amount of money that you want to make income-wise, then you would put your sales profit goal in the top left-hand corner. If your goal is to move up on the career path and you need a certain number of team members this month, you can start on the right-hand side. It does not matter. You can go one way or the other. It's going to show you the big picture. Because in Mary Kay, you can just sell product if you want to and make money. We make half of what we sell. But if you want to continue and add more income, then you can also team build. So you're going to start. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to point out the planning averages that are right here on the bottom in this bottom area. And let's see, there we go. All right, so I'm going to zone in on that because I want to start here. So here's the deal. When you have held 100 faces, when you've done a whole lot of appointments, you can create your own averages. Okay, averages are created based on past experience. And so if you're brand new, or if you haven't done a lot of faces yet, then you don't really know what your averages are. And so these averages are extremely conservative. Other directors and other leaders will tell you that the numbers are actually better than these are, but I really want to create it so that it is believable. Okay, so where some people say that the average woman will buy $100 of product, I split it in half and I say $50 per face. Okay, so let me go through what the averages are. So that number one, $50 a face. So if you were to see 100 faces, some people would buy 0. Some people would buy $300 of product, and some are going to buy somewhere in the middle. But if you were to do 100 faces, it would probably average out pretty cleanly at about $50 a face, okay, especially as a newer consultant. Then number 2, 4 faces per party. Well, you can do 100 faces individually, or you can add a few people to each appointment and make better use of your time. And you'll find that the energy in a party is different than in a facial. So if our goal is 4 to 6 faces per party, and which sometimes the average, not sometimes, the average then comes to 4 faces per party, okay? Then you talk about the bookings. So not every single booking that you book is going to hold. And I'm just going to tell you that now. This has nothing to do with Mary Kay. This is just life. This is every other industry. And if you don't believe me, have you ever been to the doctor's office where there's somebody booked at the same time as you are? Have you ever been on a plane where they've asked for volunteers so that they could have somebody, because they've overbooked it? They do that because life happens. And so, someone's stuck in traffic, someone gets sick. And honestly, something better came up. Let's just be real. This is not, for some people, 100% their priority. So if something better comes along, sometimes that means they won't hold on the original date. So a good rule of thumb is about half will hold. That means that if you want to hold 10 parties, then you probably want to book 20 to be safe, okay? Then when you're making your booking calls, not every single person that you reach is going to say yes. And so you want to be prepared for that so that you are prepared for some no's. And so good rule of thumb, about half of the people that you reach are going to say, yes, let's book it right now. Some of the other half is going to have different things, not right now, or, let me check my schedule. Okay, so half will book. Then every person you call, you're not going to actually get a live person. And so you'll see half of the people that you call will be reached. So that's a pretty good number. Okay, and so that's the booking averages. Then number 6, 60% will sit down and interview with you. Now, you can ask as many people as you want at a skincare class to sit down and ask to share how our business works with them. But at the end of the day, good average is about 60% of the faces you do will sit down and allow you to interview them or share the business with them, okay? Then of number 7, of those that you do interviews with, and let me just clarify, of those who are eligible. So you can't interview 5 16-year-olds and say the averages don't work. You have to be at least 18 in order to become a consultant. So 1 in 5 eligible interviews will become a consultant, and that is a very conservative number, okay? Number 8, new consultants on average start with, the company average is about $1,000 of inventory. Again, some start with much more, some start with a shoebox of products, but that's about the average. And then number 9 is the number of hours that you spend on a party. Now, a party should not last 3 hours long, but my average includes your drive time, the calls that you make, the follow-ups, the coaching, just so that you can help to plan your time and determine, is this a goal that makes sense for me? All right, so now that we have the averages, let's walk through. And let's see. All right, so I'm going to start at the very top. So first you're going to fill in the month that you're talking about. And so in this case, we're just going to put June. And let's say that my goal is $1,000 of profit. Okay, so I'm going to type in $1,000 right there. And we make half of what we sell. So you'll see the formula underneath it here. So see where it says sales profit times 2 equals retail sales. That is also based on the average down below of, actually that average is not there, but we make half of what we sell. So if you want $1,000 profit, then you need to sell $2,000, okay? So now taking the average of $50 a face, the averages are right down below. So here we go, retail sales divided by $50 a face is gonna tell you how many faces you need to do in order to sell $2,000 of Mary Kay. So 2,000 divided by 50, break out your calculator, is 40, okay? Then, how many parties do you need to hold in order to do 40 faces? Again, you can do 40 appointments, or if you use the average of 4 faces per party, then it's probably about 10 parties, okay? So think about that in a month. 4 weeks in a month, that is what? Like 2 to 3 parties per week. Not so bad. All right, so now let's figure out how many bookings. So if you want to hold 10, you're going to book double that. right? And so number of parties held times 2 equals, you want 20 bookings on your books to hold 10. Okay, so let's talk about how many do we need to call in order to book 20. You want to double that. So you want to reach 40 people in order to book 20, have 20 say yes. And then in order to reach 40 people in a month, you're going to want to call double that so that you are, sometimes you're leaving voicemails. You want to reach, or you want to dial 80 dials in a month. Okay, now this is already starting to seem a little bit more believable, isn't it? So now let's take that month and divide it up by week, because there are 4 weeks in a month, right? So if you were to make 80 dials in a month divided by 4 weeks, that's just 20 dials a week, okay? Still sounding like a lot? Well, how many days a week are you going to do your dials? Let's just say for this conversation that you're going to be consistent and do it 5 days a week. So you take your 20 dials per week and divide it by 5 days, and that means 4 dials per day. All right, so now I'm wondering if that makes it, so your original, we talked about your original goal is $1,000 profit, selling $2,000, which sounds to some people like a lot, but if we were to break it down of how many calls a day does that really mean? I mean, 4 dials a day. Could you handle 4 dials a day in order to yield $1,000 of profit in a month? Okay, so now let's take this across, because there's another half here. It's not the only amount of money that you can make at Mary Kay. So if we were to take the 40 faces right here and bring it across, just take that number 40 and, there we go, 40 faces, because now we're going to talk about the interviewing and the new team members. Okay, so now you're going to take this number up. You're going to go up the arrow instead of coming down. So if you have 40 faces, you're going to interview, we said, about 60% of them. So 60% of 40, and you get that by doing 40 divided by 0.6, and it will tell you how many interviews you would do. You're going to do 24 interviews if you do 40 faces. And if 1 in 5 recruit, so you see again the formula, team member goal, well, in this case, if you're coming down, it would be times 5. But in this case, because we have the interviews already done, you're going to divide by 5 to find out how many team members you could get from 24 interviews. And the answer is 4. And it's really 4.5, but again, I'm being conservative. All right, so how much money would you make from having 4 new team members? Well, we're going to take this number and come down this arrow here. And remember, we talked about the average inventory is about $1,000 per new team member. So if you have 4 new team members, that would be $4,000 in production. Well, when you have 4 team members, let's just pretend like you have no other team members at this point, then your commission check is 4%. Okay, so I'm going to hone in a little bit more here. Okay, so your commission check, you're going to take 4,000 production times 4%, and that gives you $160 commission. Now, in this case, you have 4 team members in 1 month, and starting with your 4th team member that is qualified, meaning that they place at least a minimum order of 600 wholesale, you also get a $50 bonus, one-time bonus for each person starting with the 4th one. So your bonus here, $50 times 1 equals $50. All right, so now I believe if we add it all up here at the bottom, your sales profit, original goal, $1,000. Your team building commission, again right here, is $160. So we're going to put that in. Your team building bonus for the 4th team member is $50, which means that your projected income is $1,210. So even though your goal was $1,000, if you're selling full circle and doing it right, then your income could be even more than that. Okay, so how much time does this mean that you're going to invest in your business this month in order to yield that? Well, let's take a look at it. Okay, so your time investment, remember I said total number of hours per month is based on the number of parties times 3 hours per week. And we said 10 parties times 3 hours per week, 30 hours in the month. Okay, how many hours per week is that? Again, 2 to 3 parties a week. It's about 8 hours a week. So if your goal is $1,000, you could expect about to spend about 8 hours a week 10 parties, 2 to 3 parties a week in order to yield $1,000 profit. So there you go. Okay, now that you know how to use the goal setting worksheet, what's next? Well, I would ask myself a couple questions. So first, based on what it's going to require on a daily basis, am I willing to do that much work, whether it's a lot or a little? Do I need to adjust my goal more or less based on the amount of time that I'm willing to invest in my business, or even just the time that I have available, or just what I'm willing to do? Okay, and then the second question that I would ask myself is what is the next thing, or what could stop me? So for instance, if you look at it and say, oh my gosh, I could absolutely do 4 dials a day, but I have no one to call. Well, then your next step is going to go figure out how do I get some new leads or referrals. So if you're a brand new consultant, you can absolutely use the list that you use in your contacts. Brainstorm to start there. If you're a seasoned consultant, then I would search out lead generation ideas from your director or on our website. Okay, so if you have leads and you have the time, but you don't know what to say on those booking calls, then you have a new skill to go work on. So all of those things. So you just need to figure out where is my gap? Do I have a gap that could hold me back from reaching this goal now that I know the amount of work, the workload that it's going to take in order to get there? So I know that you can absolutely do anything you set your mind to, anything that you are highly committed to and you're willing to do the work. So make it a great day.